fundamentalism from the hills of West Virginia, and sadly we lost him a few years ago, and it is sad the way we lost him. He took his life. So the fundamentalism, finally he couldn't quite escape it, and we miss him so much. In fact, the song that you were singing is a song that we wrote with Benny so many years ago. And one of the last times we saw him, he was playing it on a gigantic grand piano in Charleston, West Virginia. The thing about Benny is that everyone always gathered around his piano to sing. He had a special ability to attract singers. And finally, Derek McGinty, who John mentioned earlier, who an irrepressible force in the world, really, in this community, a great dancer, great singer, great performer, great soul, who we lost to AIDS 6 years ago. I know because it was just a couple of months after my daughter was born, and thank God that she was born, or I would have died of grief, I think. But these three men came to New York to make theater, to be on stage. And they were singers, dancers, composers, and they came here like kings, you know, with gifts. And we were so lucky that they shared those gifts with us. I'm grateful to have been on the boards with them all over the world, and all of you too. So they would be honored to be here, I think, because they were theater people. We're not all theater people, but those three really, heart and soul, they were theater people, and would just be beyond happy to join this incredible list of people you've honored in the past. New York can really break your heart, you know. I know you know what I mean. So how do we keep going? Lately, I've been hearing John Coltrane in my head, you know, his voice doubled and tripled and quadrupled, just saying, "A love supreme, a love supreme, a love supreme." And I laugh with my mom. You know, I'm a commune child, and so I said, "Mom, I finally got a mantra." She's like, "What is it?" I was like, "It's John Coltrane." Nah, she's an old beatnik, so she got that. Anyway, today I really want to extend my gratitude to the brave warriors of ACT UP, those shining stars, and the thousands of them, of humans, many gendered humans, who lost their lives to AIDS. So many performers and actors and show people. And I walk around and I miss them. I think they could have been right there. They could have been doing that. They might have been doing that. I see this sort of negative space of that whole community of people. So thank you. I dedicate all of this to you tonight, you amazing people. Thank you. Your stories and your lives and your deaths will help us all defend the earth. I know that. And I also would like to take a moment to thank Reverend Billy, who is not speaking tonight because he's been on the road for 3 weeks and has had 20 gigs in 23 days. And we thought, just this once, we'll just talk to him. Billy, I want to thank you. You carry the wilds in you. You carry wildness in a way I can barely describe, but more than any human I've ever known, you have the wilds in you. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. You are so dangerous and strange. And thank you. And because I'm old school, I like to thank my teachers. And I think all of us here have a lot of teachers to thank. We wouldn't be here without them, so let's all say together, thank you, teachers. Thank you, teachers. Here we are at CUNY. I know many teachers come from CUNY, so thank you in advance for your future teaching and whatever teaching you may have done in the past. Among our teachers, Sydney Lanier, who was Billy's mentor and really talked him into this character. And the thousands and thousands of species of mushrooms and newts and moss and trees and mammals and fish and birds and jellyfish, and I'm leaving lots of them out, but dragonflies, all the other species who are not in this room with us tonight, we thank you, because you are really our teachers now. And that is who we have to really listen to now, those other creatures and the earth itself. So respect. Thank you all so much.
Well, so much has been said about our dearest, dearest Reverend Billy Savitri and the incredible Stop Shopping Choir. So I'll just say a couple little short things. How do we keep going, Savitri? We need each other. And someone who's really kept me going has been the Reverend Billy and all of these people, because we are sisters in street performing. We work on the street. There's nothing between us and them. There's nothing between us and you, or there's nothing between all of us. And it's fucking hard. It's scary, and it's dangerous, and it doesn't make any money. And then Trump wins. And it goes on and on and on. And we need each other so badly. And this community has served me so greatly. And when I think of the Reverend on the streets in Times Square in your very, very early days, out there by yourself, or in those Disney stores, just changing up that text and changing up all that stuff in there, I know what that feels like. And when I think of you doing that, and I know that you're doing that, I know that I can keep going on. And when I see all of you doing it, I know that I can keep going on. And when you come and play at my benefits, it really helps us keep going on too. So you're a hero, you're saints, you're inspirations, you're angels, you're my strength. And I thank you so much. And at this point, we want to open the floor to you all, students of theater and choir members and friends and general public, and say, does anybody out here want to give a little testimony to the choir, to Reverend Billy, to Savitri, a word or two of love from your heart? We open it up now to the world. I'll let you think for a minute. Well, I just tell you this. You know, there was this nurse, and she was at work, and she was like, oh my God, what is wrong with this person? I gotta take some notes here. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a rectal thermometer and thought, oh my God, some asshole's got my pencil. Okay, now, hopefully, during that moment, you thought of something that you wanted to say. Anybody want to give a word to the Reverend before we bring it home? I see a hand.
It was a dark, stormy night. Actually, no. It was a very, very, very hot evening, 2004, and it was during the RNC. And that night was when the cops went after all the bikers in critical mass and chased them over to St. Mark's Church. And a whole bunch of people, we stayed inside, you know, in solidarity while the cops were on the outsides. And while I was hanging out, it was so hot, but I heard some music going on. And let me go inside and check this shit out in there. So I go in, and I see a choir, And as hot as it was, they all had robes on. I was like, this is insane. And I'm looking, and I see that man in front of the choir, and he says, "Children, the Reverend's hot. Do you mind if I take my clothes off?" And I'm like, oh, here we go. And he proceeds to take off, well, at least he left his pants on, but he took everything off except for the priest's collar. And so these people are psycho. And it's kind of, but yeah, they're psycho, and so am I. So it's like, And I look in the corner, and I see this woman with her hair is in a handkerchief, wild, unruly, beautiful hair wrapped up in her bandana. And I don't know why I got this thought. I said, that's his wife. I've never seen these people before in my life. And so it was fast forward into a few months later. It's 2005. It's January, and I used to write for this anarchist newspaper, The Shadow. And the editor tells me, you got to go over and interview Reverend Billy. He's over at Red Square. I know he has rehearsals there on Sunday. So I go over there. Hi, can I interview you? I'm going to interview you for The Shadow. And he just looks at me. He says, why don't you sit over there? And he sits me down to where everybody's singing, and he sits me over to this wonderful woman over here, this diva. And everybody starts singing. I said, why am I sitting here? I don't sing. I can't sing. Why am I doing here? This is so fucking weird. And the end of the show, end of rehearsal, he says, come back next Sunday. And I've been there ever since.
Now, who else wants to testify? Any more testimony from the choir? I see a soulful soul right here.
So I came to the choir in 2009 in the midst of Billy running for mayor. And I think one thing that's lost on a lot of people when they think about the choir is how much of a community the individuals in the choir actually are. And how much we hang out outside of singing, and how much we rely on each other and support each other in all of our endeavors, and make babies with each other too. It's really trippy to leave one place. I moved from Miami in 2009, sort of like running away from conservative Cuban parents and a lifetime of all of that, and finding this family of 40 people who just are the most open and the most giving group of people you've ever met, really. And just like any family, there are frustrations and there are conflicts and there are all types of things, but they're above everything else, there's so much love, and I think that just is reflected in like every time we're on stage. I think people feel that, and I think that's what opens people up to what the choir has to say. And I'm forever grateful for both of you. I can't think of two people who are more deserving of this award, because you guys, we're a community because of you two, and as a product of it. And yeah, we all go off on our own things, but at the end of the day, it's always Billy with the mic in the front. that keeps us coming back. So thank you. That's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Donald.
Yeah, right. So a friend of mine said, knew I liked to sing a lot, and he just invited me to join a gospel choir. I was like, well, gospel music, sure. I've really never done that. I was mostly into medieval music and Renaissance music. Gospel, sure, why not? And it ended up being the Church of Stop Shopping Gospel Choir, which was a real surprise. But the program that we were doing, this was like probably the iteration of this current choir, was for to save the Poe House, which NYU was bound and possessed to tear down. And Reverend Billy was bound and possessed to save. And like went out of his way and several times, got arrested many times, and we had this amazing show at the new school. And after the show happened, we all got up and we all had like little candles and things, and we walked down to the Poe House. And the point was going to be we were going to read The Raven. So we get there, and Reverend Billy didn't have his glasses. So he grabs me, kind of knows me, and probably knows I can probably read and make and be kind of fabulous.
Yes. Yes, you do.
And like, so he gives me the bullhorn, and I'm like leading this huge crowd of people reading the Poe House. Reading The Raven. And that's going beautifully, beautifully, and suddenly, like, I'm out of the corner of my eyes, I'm seeing we are being encroached by the police. They're getting closer and closer, and they're clearly not going to put up with this for too much longer. And we're only about halfway through the poem. And, and I'm kind of going, and I have like a church job the next morning, and like, like it's sort of Christmas time, and I'm wondering, what's in my pocket? Whoa. Okay, I really hope we don't get arrested, because I could be in real trouble. Luckily, they only arrested Reverend Billy. So I knew I'm in for a terrific run, and believe me, it has been. And I just love you all, and just all the family. There have been so many people who've come and gone and come and gone, and it's just been just like such a beautiful, beautiful experience and family, and just being out into public and like public space and like really taking it back. It's thrilling. Thank you.
One more? Is there one last one, and we're going to wrap it up?
So, I joined this choir last year, and prior to joining this choir, I was one of those devil's children who never felt the Holy Spirit during evangelical sermons. And I actually found a church where I can feel it. So maybe that's a nice congregation I joined. I feel like I actually joined a worthwhile church. I really got into activism actually in the graduate center here with a professor named Anna Stetsenko, and I learned about this thing called the transformative activist stance. But I never realized that you can have that transformative activist stance in an art context. So after I found out about the choir, I was like, I have to join this, because you can be an activist and an artist at the same time and perform. And this is like still, I feel like I'm in a dream right now, because I still cannot believe that you can perform and protest at the same time. It's very new to me. And I also love the community.
Hello, I'm Laura Newman, and with Donald, we're two of the oldest members. I was at that Poe show, but as far as origin stories go, which I think is the theme here, why we're here, and my origin story was the show previous to that one at the Culture Project, which was also completely sold out, and I was brought there by Stephen Duncombe in an academic context. It was part of the Gallatin program at New York University, where I had managed to find out that you could take an anthropology class and get history credit. And that was really sweet. And so I did that instead of studying the Civil War again. I ended up being put into this class all about activism. And I was a theater major at New York University. I wanted to be a Broadway singer and all this kind of stuff. And suddenly I was in this really fascinating environment, looking at how life is theater and theater is activism, and activism is communication, and communication is spiritual, and there were like big, bold themes kind of arising, and I started to realize that I wasn't studying how to sing and dance, like I was studying the nature of reality. And so when we went to the Reverend Billy show, I was literally converted, and this is why I joined the group, why I think our work is really powerful, and why I'm a fan of it as much as I am a participant in it. I went to a show at the Culture Project and sat there as just a normal kind of liberal arts theater kid working at Starbucks and wondering how I was going to make money. And at the end of the show, I became an activist, and I actually went outside and helped perform an illegal activity, holding a slingshot, and while people put paintballs in it and threw them at an advertisement for about.com. And it was just exhilarating. The police came, we ran away. That was like part of it, you know? Like I ran down this alley and I was like, what is this? Like, it was so exciting. I mean, I never had a piece of theater, A, got me out of my seat, and B, like put me in the street and made me perform something with a group of strangers that was, really passionate and strange and illegal and felt right, And I grew up in the Episcopal Church, which is very much about pomp and circumstance and the British traditions of Anglican music, and choir like collars that go like this, little coffee filters, you stand very still and sing Mozart. And so for me to have that revelation as a theater performer and writer, the spiritual side of it is just as important for me. I had started to disentangle myself from the Christian church around the same time, and to find an outlet for that faith and that like conviction, where instead of singing about Jesus, I could sing like the First Amendment, and it would feel like the same feeling in my body of like, I believe, and I like it, that ecstatic spiritual state that I was supposed to give up because I wasn't Christian anymore. I didn't have to do that. So I am who I am because of all of you and Billy and Savitri, and it's been an amazing journey. It's been almost half my life I've been in this group. I joined when I was 20 years old, so thank you.
So we've got a final bit of music to see us off, and then if you want to join us upstairs for some breaking of the bread and some wine, just make sure if you're not a GC person to bring your program with you so that you don't get stopped by security.
We thought we could shout the story of the